Well, hello, neighbor. Come on into my home. Let's sit down at the table. We have a lot to talk about. Well, at least I have a lot to talk about. You can comment on my video, like it, subscribe to my channel, dislike it, but I'm going to do most of the talking for now. But maybe one day I'll do a live when I have enough subscribers and we can discuss anything you all want to. And I would love that. But today I have come to you drinking coffee. Not tea, coffee. Because I woke up this morning and it was 52 degrees here in Mississippi. And it was chilly. For us anyway. Because I know some of you northern people, cold there is a lot different than cold here. And just like heat here is a lot different than heat there. So, we deal with different seasons different ways. But when it gets 52 degrees, who knows? We might build a fire in our fireplace. Now, I know some of you northerners kind of giggled at that. But when it turns cold, as we will think it's cold, that's what we do. We build fires in our fireplace. And I love it because I love my fireplace. I love to have a fire going, fix me a cup of coffee, sit in my recliner, and just watch the fire. But anyway, enough about the weather. Today, we're going to discuss if people really knew me, they would be surprised to know, and then I have to finish the sentence. Well, because this is only my third video, and you don't know me, and you just know, hey, it's me, Angie, and you see me on this video, but you don't really know me, you would be surprised to know that I have written a book. Now, it's not one that I'm ever going to get published, but it's for my children to find when I pass away, to know their mother's childhood, what she lived through, to become the parent, or not to become the parent that she could have become because of her circumstances. Because, when we get to a certain age, no matter what we've been through in life, we make a choice on whether we're going to do the right thing or the wrong thing. If we're going to be the victim or we're going to be a productive citizen of this world. So when I became an adult, I chose to be a productive citizen. Now, I have never been one to want to be the victim, which in reality, I was the victim, because a victim is a person that something happens to that they can't control. Now, these people that want to play the victim that has caused everything to happen to them, they go out, they're promiscuous, they sleep with somebody, and they get pregnant, like my mother did, because I'm a result of a one-night stand. Okay, she's not the victim. I'm the victim because I'm a result of that decision that she made. I'm that result. Now, as long as she will live, she will play the victim of something bad happened to her. But she made that choice. And we all make choices. And we can't be a victim if the choice we made turns out to be bad. Victims are people that something happens to that they had no control over. Now, I had no control over the fact that my mother slept with my biological father, and I'm a result of it. That had nothing to do with me. But for years, I carried that shame and that burden of everybody was looking at me strange, because we live in a small town where everybody knows everybody. And I've been here, I'm 54 years old. I've been in this small town, with the exception of about, the 7th grade to the 10th grade. So that'd be 7, 8, 9. With the exception of 4 years, I've been here my whole life. I hadn't been able to escape. Now, I use that as a running joke, but in reality, I probably wouldn't live anywhere else now, except maybe closer to my grandbaby. Now, if I had a choice to move closer to my grandbaby, I would probably do that. Or at least get a huge camper and go to my son's and stay 6 months out of the year, or something like that. But, you know, my husband hasn't retired yet, so we can't travel like that. But as far as me leaving this town, no, I will be in this town till I die. But it has been good to me in ways. And in ways, it's been irritating. But let me just describe to you the little small town that I live in. Okay. Now, we do have a community college here. It's Co-Lin Community College. And we don't have any red lights. We have a Dollar General, a Family Dollar, a post office, a police station, a little small library, 2 service stations. Our elementary and high school is here because that's where I graduated from. Both of my children graduated from that same school. And I'm basically related to just about everybody in this town. And then after I found my biological father, I realized I was related to everybody in the next town over. So it was a good thing I went all the way to Louisiana to find my husband, because if it hadn't been for that, I would have probably ended up falling in love with somebody that unknowingly I was related to because I didn't know my father. And come to find out, after I found my father, and even before I found my father, I found out I knew that I was going to school with my brother, my half-brother. And I didn't find out from my mother. I didn't find anything out from my mother. She never talked to me about it. I had to seek all this out myself. I mean, she never would discuss it with me. It was like she had something and she felt good about keeping it from me, if that makes any sense. And my grandmother wouldn't talk to me about it because my mother threatened to take her life if my grandmother even brought it up to me. So she had my grandmother in emotional bondage about if she told me anything about it, she would kill herself. And my grandmother and I were very close, but she held herself firm to the day she died. She never discussed with me about who my real dad was. And I didn't really find him until after my grandmother passed away. I was 36 years old and I found him on my own. And that is a whole nother story. But all this is in the book that I have written for my children to read after I've passed on. And you may say to yourself, well, why don't you want them to see it now? They're grown. You know, they can deal with it. Yeah, they could. And if the subject ever comes up and it ever gets around to, hey, I have this book back there that I've written. Do y'all want to look at it? And either one of them say, yeah, we do. I mean, that's fine. I'll let them. But it's just not something I'm going to do on a daily basis. Bring it up. Hey, I wrote this book. You sure you don't want to read about your mom's past? Because I've left the past in the past and I've lived my life going forward. And that's what we should all do. And I know sometimes it's hard and it's not easy. But I have finally let go of all that. When I found my biological father, it was just like this burden had been lifted off of me. Because once I met him, I realized who I looked like. I realized that these are my people. Because they were blonde hair, blue-eyed. My mom's redheaded. My oldest sister, she looked like her father. My brother and baby sister looked like their father. I mean, I was the one that stood out. And then again, I was the middle child, and, you know, there is a such thing as middle child syndrome. So I had that too. But that's one thing that you all did not know about me. I have written a book. I love to write poetry, but I haven't written poetry in quite a few years now. I have to be inspired to do that. I'm hoping it will come back to me as I'm doing these YouTube videos, that some of the writing will revisit me and I will have a desire to do that. But unless I have the desire or it just comes to me in a fleeting wave, I don't just sit down and try to write. I don't know. I've been going down the road before and this poem would just start coming to me in my mind, and I'll have to pull over and just write things down. I've actually done that before. I mean, you can't force things to come when you write things. You have to just let it flow. I mean, I've learned that, or you'll have many, many sleepless nights. Okay, so we know I've written a book. I mean, what have you done? Let people know. Because you're not going to live forever. Let your children know. Because, if they're grown, it's okay. They'll understand. They'll know that the pain that you have went through. And they can, may not be able to relate to it because there was no way that I wasn't going to be maternal to my children. And, I almost didn't have children because of my mother. And she didn't win that game either. Because when I first met my husband, the two conditions in order for me to marry him were I would not live in Louisiana, and number two, I would not have children. And if he could accept those two things, then we could get married, and I would say yes to his proposal. So he was like, yeah, I will live in Mississippi. But now that I look back, I can't remember him saying, okay, I agree we won't have children. He just said, yes, we won't live in Louisiana. Well, we had been married about 3.5 years, and he starts talking about wanting to have a child. And at that time, we had a big discussion about, I told him, I said, James, I don't know if I'll be maternal. My mother wasn't maternal. I don't want to put a child through what I lived through. He's like, no, there's no way you're not going to be maternal. You will be. Okay, I said, okay, I'll have one child. And if it's a boy, it'll be someone that can carry your name, into the future. Your bloodline will go on, and I won't have any more. Now, here's the thing. I had my son in 3.5 hours. So it wasn't the pregnancy or the labor the reason I didn't want to have children. It was the fact that I thought that I was not going to be a maternal parent. Well, lo and behold, my son was born. I fell in love with him. I could not get enough of him. I loved him with all my heart. And then I got to thinking, how could a mother not be maternal? How can you carry a child and not feel some kind of attachment to that child? Well, I didn't want to know, because I already know that can happen. And even though I don't really understand it, I don't hold it against anybody that is like that. I mean, you have to deal with you. You understand why you are the way you are. I just feel like if you carry a baby for 9 months, you need to be maternal toward that child. Love that child. Nurture that child. Want that child to know that you want them. Because, growing up, our family, we all lived in the same house, but we never really knew each other. Well, I wasn't going to have that. And another thing I wasn't going to do, we moved a lot in this small town when I was growing up. I don't even move my furniture around because we moved so much as children. We have lived in this home that I'm in right now since my son was 3 years old. And I told my husband when we bought this home and moved in it, I said they'll take me out head first or feet first because I'm not moving again. I'm not going to put my children through moving as much as I moved growing up. I want them to be able to ride by a home when they get grown and say, that's my family home. That's where I grew up. See, because my husband had that. He grew up on a dairy farm. Now, he has a whole different story about his life because he was his dad's workhorse. I mean, that's why he's a workaholic to this day. I mean, his dad, it was 3 of him, an older sister, him, and a younger brother. He and I both are middle children, and we do have the middle child syndrome. The funniest thing is my son married an oldest child, and he's an older child. My husband and I are middle children, and my daughter married the baby of the family, and she's the baby of the family. So we laugh about things like that. But getting back to my story, I was afraid I wasn't going to be maternal, but I was. So as soon as my son was born, and the doctor said, oh, it's a big old boy, a healthy boy. I just put my head back and said, oh, I don't have to do this again. Well, my husband, being the man that he is, right in the middle of the delivery room says, oh, you'll change your mind. And I'm thinking, that's not something you say to a person that's just give birth. No, don't say that. Well, let's see, my children are 4.5 years apart. 4.5 years later, I have my daughter, which I would take nothing for, and I'm so glad that I chose to have 2 children. And now I have 2 wonderful children that are grown. My oldest son has given me a grandbaby, and you know, I wouldn't have had any of that had I held on to the fact that I thought I wasn't going to be maternal. Because it doesn't always work out the way your mind thinks it's going to work out. Because sometimes our mind tricks us into keeping us from receiving good things. A lot of times, if we're thinking the wrong way, it keeps us from receiving blessings and good things. If we would just step out and take a chance and try to believe that something better's out there. And that's what I kept doing. Each year that my husband and I were married, I left the past in the past and looked forward to raising my children and becoming my main goal was to be the best mom that I could be. I wanted to be the best mom, but be a disciplinary. I mean, I didn't want to just spoil them rotten and give them anything they wanted. I wanted them to have structure, and I wanted them to learn things. My coffee pot's going off. I wanted them to learn things. I wanted my son to be able to, when he went off to college, wash clothes. You'll be surprised at the college students that look up on YouTube on how to wash a load of clothes. Blew my mind. He knew how to wash dishes. He knows how to cook. He cooks just about every meal in his home now because I wanted him to be equipped with him to be able to take care of himself when he left here. Now, his dad, on the other hand, taught him the manly things to take care of himself. We did the same thing with my daughter. I taught her things how to take care of things female-wise, how to cook, how to wash clothes, how to groom herself. And we didn't look at it as a chore. We looked at it as spending time together, learning together. We took vacations together, something that my family and I never did. We never took one vacation together. Hardly ever spoke to each other. Like I said, we were in different rooms of the house. We didn't really know each other. And that seemed to be okay with my mom. And I look back now and I don't understand why. But I'm here to tell you, no matter what you've been through in your life, you take it and you decide in your heart, your mind, your soul, whatever you listen to, that's over. I'm going to put it in this little box until I can deal with it, or just go ahead and deal with it. Don't miss out on things that will come to you that are positive when you're holding on to negativity. Now, you may say to yourself, sweet Lord Jesus, this woman is into positive and negative thinking. And she's trying to throw all this positive thinking on us. She doesn't know what I've been through. She doesn't know the pain I feel. I sure don't. I don't. But I will tell you this. You deserve to live. You deserve to have a life. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have someone in your life. You deserve to be pain-free. Because you matter. So just remember that. And until you take a step to make a difference in your life, nothing is going to change. So, first thing you need to do is think, do I believe what this lady is saying? And if you do, take a small step. Do something different. Don't do the same routine. Try something different. Just wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm going to do something I've never done before. Just something small, nothing big. And do that. That will give you the courage to try something else the next day. Because I'm here to tell you, you matter. You matter. There's somebody out there that loves you and cares about you, whether you believe that or not. I don't want you to go through life thinking that no one ever thinks about you. You don't cross anybody's mind. Here's the thing. You were not created just to be a void, not to even be known. I mean, you were created for a reason. You're here for a reason. And that's one reason I started doing YouTube, is because I'm homebound. I can't do anything else. I can't go out. Excuse me. I can't go out. I can't be around people anymore. I can't change people's lives. But through a video, I might can reach out to someone and say something that would cause that person to say, hey, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm going to step out and do something different. So until the next time we meet, I hope you'll do something different. I hope you'll just take tiny little steps, like my little granddaughter is starting to crawl now, and eventually she'll start to take those little steps to walk. So maybe you might need to just start with little steps and just write down every day something that you tried that you normally wouldn't do. And I'm going to share one day, because I have a vision board that I've created and I've been working on. And I believe in a vision board. Putting pictures on there, putting positive things that you want, where you want your future to go. So, as time goes on, you'll see a difference. But until the next time we meet, I would love for you to just do something different, something positive. Say in your mind, I am worth it. I matter. Just say that, I matter, and let your mind believe it. But until then, like, dislike, subscribe, share my video. Bye, neighbors. See you later.